Hello and welcome to the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host, Jared, and with me today is...
I'm CMM. You can call me Clay.
And I'm Mina.
And with us today is a special guest. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Poochy.
Awesome. Great to have you, Poochy. So on this episode, we'll be discussing the brand new Mario Golf game titled Mario Golf Super Rush, made by Camelot. And to start us off, why don't we just talk about our individual histories with Mario Golf? Are you guys Mario golfers? Have you played previous games, or is this your first game? Let's start with you, Clay, and then just anyone can go.
Yeah, I had Mario Golf on N64, and it was definitely not the sports game that I preferred between it and tennis. I've always been much more of a Mario Tennis guy, because my brain just did not understand how Mario Golf worked as a kid. And then I know a lot of people played Toadstool Tour. I skipped it, and eventually I ended up playing the Game Boy Color Mario Golf a little bit, and then the 3DS one a little bit, which I kind of got into. But honestly, for most intents and purposes, this is the one that I've been engaging the most with as an adult. So it's not really my first one, but it kind of might as well be.
Yeah, I get that. I've splish splashed in a few of them. I've tried a tiny bit of N64. I've tried a tiny bit of the Game Boy one. I played the demo for the 3DS game, and I've played a little bit of Toadstool Tour.
Yeah, I've never played Mario Golf. This was a brand new experience to me. I've picked up every tennis game in the series, but golf, I don't know. I was just never interested. But this time I was like, for one, generally I have been picking up every first party game on the Switch. So, I was not about to skip this one. So this was a brand new experience to me, and I was really... I was not excited for it, but I gotta say, we'll get into it later, but I really, really like this game. It's a ton of fun, so...
That's awesome.
I guess I've basically had the most experience with Mario Golf out of us, because I've only played World Tour, but I was extremely invested into it. I put in, probably around 100 hours into World Tour.
Wow.
Yeah, I... absolutely love.
Is that the 3DS one?
Yes, it's the 3DS game.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of good things.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, I really wanted to get that.
Honestly, World Tour is probably my favorite game on the 3DS.
Wow, big words.
I got
Top
really invested into it, and it honestly has one of Nintendo's best season passes and DLC stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had bought the DLC.
Yeah, I got
not.
that alongside. I mean, it was pretty much no-brainer, because they actually discounted the game before launch to $30 because it was Nintendo's first season pass that they had.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's awesome.
The game was only $30, and then the season pass was $15. So, really, you got a ton of content for only $5 more than a regular game. It was extremely good, and so I was very excited for Camelot's next game of the series.
And that expansion pack, or that season pass, actually added, I think, every single course from the N64 game, right?
Correct, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah, most of the courses were, reskinned so that they... Or, 3 of the courses were reskinned so that they were more, based off New Super Mario Bros. U-Worlds. So you had Sparkling Waters, Rock Candy Mountains... and I forget the last one. But then
one was based on Galaxy, wasn't it?
Yeah, you had Mario Star, which is a really cool course.
And is that one the Galaxy course? So
yes.
It was kind of a mix of new and old courses? Is that accurate?
No, it was still from the Nintendo 64 game, but it was reskinned. Most of them were reskinned to be more based on modern Mario titles, but it was a really, really good package overall.
That's great. Well, that's why we brought you on, because you're the Mario Golf pro. I will say I definitely have the least experience with this one. I've played about a half an hour of it, and my friends didn't know the rules, which I since learned after that. So I don't want my I had fun with it, but I don't want my experiences to like cloud this too much because I was playing. I had incorrect assumptions based on the new changes, which I think is a nice segue into our next section about the new change. Like, what makes this golf game different from World Tour?
So, one of the biggest things that wasn't really apparent before launch was how much they changed about just the standard shot system. So in the previous games, the shots were, you basically did 3 button presses. 1 to start off the shot, 1 to determine the amount of power as it went up the bar, and then as it went back down the bar, you hit it at the right time in order to get the best accuracy possible on the ball. And so that your accuracy on the ball was just based on how well timed that third button press was, and then along with that you would add in the top spin or back spin and then a curve on the ball if you wanted to. In Super Rush, there's only 2 button presses now or just A presses. And so you'll do it to determine the power, but instead the accuracy of the shot is directly linked with the amount of power that's in it. And so the more power that you put into the shot, it may shift the ball left or right more or less. And that'll also be determined by the shot type. If you're doing it from bunker, there's a lot of different things that determine the accuracy, and you have to take that into account when taking the shot.
And then there's an element of, I think someone told me with like speed running, there's like ways around like the actual luck of it, but for a regular player, like when you hit in that red area, the red triangle area, the bigger the red triangle, the more likely your shot will go off course.
Correct. Yeah. I think it'll always go off course a bit, but then depending on how much.
Oh, I thought it was random because I've hit it at max power and I still got a nice shot.
I'm honestly not entirely sure.
I'm not totally sure either because remember I only played a few matches, so I could take my stuff with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I just kind of like go with it a bit, like something you have to get used to. And then also along with that, another big change is how that you add the curve to the ball. So when the bar is going back down, instead of timing that last button press, instead that's the time when you'll be pressing the stick in some direction in order to add a curve to the ball. And you can actually change how the ball moves a lot in the air. And certain characters and club types, they'll give you more bars. So if you want to get around obstacles, first you can have the ball take a big turn to the right, and then later in the shot it'll go towards the left. So you have a lot more control over the ball overall in previous games.
Part, I didn't realize that when I played, that there were multiple, that you can unlock clubs with multiple little, I guess, like action points.
Yeah.
And that's really cool, like how much depth there actually is there.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely get more into it later. Do you think one of the game's failings is just it doesn't teach you super well just all of the depth it has? Because there is a lot here that is very different from, World Tour and Toadstool Tour and such, that it takes a lot to get used to.
Yeah, I noticed when playing that, like, yeah, it's weird. I'm not, like, super well acclimated to the previous ones, but I remember World Tour, like, kind of feeling like it was, like, a little bit simpler to get into. And then Super Rush is kind of like, with the red zone and the bar, like, curves if you're on, like, depending on the angle that you're at. Like, it's kind of a lot to handle.
Yeah, at first it seems like a simplification, but as you look more into it, there is a lot of complexity there, and maybe even more than before.
I do not think it's a simplification at all. Yeah. Because, and they also removed, like, at least in World Tour, not sure if it was in previous games, there was a line that would show you roughly where the ball would land, and that's just gone. So you just kind of have to approximate it.
Yeah.
Well, you can look at the mini-map,
it still shows you the little flag.
Yeah, but it doesn't show you, like, the exact trajectory.
Oh, you mean like they drew it on the map?
Yeah, right. Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and so sometimes, like, And like it would tell you, oh, your ball's gonna hit a tree. And now in Super Rush, it does not give you. You do not get any of that.
Yeah. I actually, and I think I prefer that because it at least in multiplayer, because I've only played this game multiplayer. I have not really touched the single player much. But I feel like it added this kind of element of not really randomness, because you can account for that if you're big brain, I guess. But not me or any of my friends have big brains. So there is this element of like we don't know what's gonna happen when we land our shot, right? And so even people who have played Mario Golf way longer than I have, I've been able to keep up with them in multiplayer because they don't really have a good idea where their shot's gonna land. Like they have an approximation, but not like And then so there's a lot of times where someone hits a tree or someone hits a wall or whatever, someone hits a bunker, like whatever, right? It is like there's been a lot of mess ups, which I think it makes it fun, right? I think it really adds that kind of equalizer where it feels it feels like even though I'm new to the game, the people who've been playing Mario Golf forever and ever and ever don't have that big of an advantage.
Yeah.
So I was able to just jump in and have a blast.
And there's another big game changer feature, kind of. I don't know if it's a game changer, but the super shots. Do they have an official name?
You
charge up like a super bar. And then when you fill up your super bar, you can activate what is it called?
Special shot.
Special shot. You can activate your special shot.
Oh, were those not there before?
So
almost positive they were new.
Yes, it's new, but also in World Tour, and I believe the games before that, you did have these things called power shots, which they didn't have any special animations or special effects or whatever, but they did give you. They were a farther going shot.
Gotcha.
And so I do think a part of it was just but it's more for multiplayer. It's like
they kind of flavored that up a little bit.
Exactly.
So in this one, each character is different.
These special shots. Yeah, they get crazy.
I played as Wario, and my ball electrocuted the balls it landed near, so my friends couldn't get as much strength in their shots, or else they if they went over like Wario's like electric line on their shot bar, they got electrocuted and had to restart their shot.
That's fun.
Yeah, and like my friend was playing as Bowser Jr. and he oh my goodness. So he shot so you know how on the power bar like it shows you like where the flag is on your little thing, right? So anyway, he uses Bowser Jr. Well, Bowser Jr. does it makes it so you don't get that. Like you don't see where the flag is because everything's filled with smoke. And so you kind of have to really like figure it out on your own, and it is a nightmare. Oh my god, trying to tee that up is a nightmare.
Yeah, I main Bowser Jr. and so I was playing with a friend like a week ago, and he was like complaining to me like, "Oh my gosh, Bowser Jr.'s special shot is so annoying to deal with."
Yeah.
Oh, it's evil. It really is evil.
Rosalina's is annoying too because she turns your ball into a starbit.
So oh my gosh, that one is so bad.
Yeah, and then it does this crazy curve.
I was playing with some friends and like they knew how to deal with it, so they spun like 90 degrees to the right, and they were able to like punch in the ball at a starbit. Awesome. And I was like, "What on earth?"
Yeah, that's something.
And then naturally there's also the other big thing, which is speed golf.
Yeah, so that's one of the other new things is you can move around on the courses in special modes. So yeah, we can start there at speed golf. Let's go there.
So speed golf, basically what it is you're all going at the same time, right? So you're not waiting for everyone to take turns, but what you're doing is you're trying to get to the hole the fastest, right? And so with that, so every shot you take is a time penalty, right? I think you can set what the time penalty is, but I want to say the standard is 30 seconds, something like that. Yeah. And so you want to get the fastest time, which involves A, doing it the fastest, but also B, doing it in the least amount of shots, like normal golf, right? But there's also this element of so every time you hit the ball, you have to go run to the ball now, right? And on the way there, so you're running, you could bump into people, you can you can dash, and then there's little like what are the power ups?
Hearts.
I forget what they look. What
hearts? Mm-hmm.
Huh? Yeah, they're little hearts. Yeah. You pick them up, and then your dash meter refills immediately, and then so you can do another dash real quick, right? So there are elements in between the shots, right, that also affect how fast you can get there, right? It's really zany, really crazy. Like, I think the name Speed Golf lives up to its name, at least in multiplayer. I don't know about in single player. But it feels like everything is happening just like boom, 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 right? Yeah, it's a wild mode. It fills me with anxiety. So I'm really bad at it because I'm just like, oh my god, what's happening? I don't know. I get all frazzled and I'm just, I hate it.
For me, Speed Golf. So, I was expecting to like Speed Golf a lot more than I do, and I think what it is like when you are going between holes, you have the special dash and your stamina meter or whatever, but beyond that, there's not really much way that you actually interact with your opponents. Now, granted, the bulk of my time playing Mario Golf was in 2-player, so this could be a lot different in 4-player. But I wish that maybe there was like, in addition to a dash, that maybe there was like a dedicated like attack button if you were like in close range. Like, if the characters had more than one way to interfere with each other, because some of the dashes are they're not made for messing with your opponents. Like, I think it's Wario has the jetpack and he kind of just flies over opponents, whereas other characters will have like Peach or Daisy will like kind of like almost look like they're skating and then can kind of like trip up people as they're going through. It feels a little bit simplistic in the games that I played of Speed Golf. Like, we kind of did a bunch of Speed Golf, like taking turns. They all kind of felt the same to me. Like, that was...
Yeah, like it doesn't really feel like... I don't know, like, it all feels very simplistic, right? Like, a lot's going on at once, but all the games kind of play out the same way, it feels. Like, every hole kind of plays out very similarly, right? And I feel like there's not nearly as much skill involved because you are kind of rushing there, right? Where I'm sure there is skill involved, don't get me wrong, but it definitely feels more like you're kind of lucking into it, right? You're just trying to run over there. You're trying whoever happens to get to the heart first or whatever, Like, there's elements where it feels a little too wacky and not enough like, oh, like I'm winning or losing because of my own merit.
To me, it's kind of like it doesn't feel wacky enough. Like, when we were playing, it was like everybody kind of basically got to their ball around the same time. Like, it was kind of just, like, you'd get there, and then, like, I don't know.
Well, I guess the way I would put it feels like the worst of both worlds, right? Where it's like, it's not, like, as skilled as the normal golf rules, right? But it's also not zany enough to, like... Oh, shit. It's not zany enough to, like, feel like a fun party mode type of thing either. It's just this weird in-between.
Yeah, I don't know how everyone else feels about that, especially Poochy, because I know you've put the most time.
It kind of feels like the party mode of the game almost. Like, especially the game uses Speed Golf a lot in single player, and in there it's just kind of like... I do wish it used more of the regular golf, because...
Yeah.
It's just kind of whatever running between the holes. But then when you are doing it in 4-player, I actually have enjoyed it a lot because it is a lot of, especially when you're playing against, because I'm playing with friends who've played even more than me and are even better than me. And like, there is some things you can do there, or like if you run behind someone for long enough, you can get like a slipstream in Mario Kart, and then in the Bowser Highland stage, there are bombs that you can basically swing at and hit opponents with them, or hit their balls to make them fly away.
Oh, that's cool. I thought those were only in Battle Golf.
No, they're in the final stage too, and those aspects are really fun. So I definitely think it's a mode that's like meant for 4 people who know each other to be playing. And it becomes just a fun party mode. But I do wish there was a bit more to it, and I think again like the bombs and the Bowser stage, those are really fun.
Yeah, that adds an element. But I really I wish it was just more wacky. Like, because it's not going to be as skill based as the regular mode. So I really just wanted to go all out stupidity, right? And more so, like, I guess I think the biggest thing to me that's missing is, like Clay touched upon. I would like to interact with my friends more on the course, right? Because having that free movement, I feel like opens up a lot of possibilities, right? But they just don't do.
What if Mario had let's say, like a gun on the course, like shoot his opponents?
Yeah,
we talk. Yeah,
I do think that the Bowser course is like, because they're going to be adding more stages to the game post launch, and so I do hope that for Speed Golf and such that the Bowser course is kind of like the baseline they do, and maybe even add more from that for like sort of gimmicks on the course and interactivity that is for Speed Golf, because the bombs on the Bowser course really add a lot.
Yeah, I liked them in Battle Golf.
Before we get to Battle Golf, I wanted to touch on, we talked about like the zaniness and the Mario-ness, and I know the tracks get like zanier as they go. I've seen the later tracks, but like the first 3 courses, I wish they were more Mario.
Because the first 3 tracks, also, it's not even just that they're not very Mario. I feel like the first 3 tracks are very samey.
Yeah, the first 2 are grasslands.
It's like, which I wouldn't mind normally, but because there's only 6 of them, it's like 2 of them looking so similar to each other really stands out, It's like, oh, these are just grasslands, like, I don't know, like, I if you're only gonna do so little of them, then why do we need 2 that occupy like a similar type of thing, right? And I would have just liked more Mario themed stuff. Like, it seems like they're saving a lot of that for Battle Golf. Like, New Donk is a Battle Golf.
It's not.
We don't know for sure,
but it does look like it is. But about the kind of sameness of the stage, that is something that Mario Golf has always, because in Toadstool Tour the first 2 environments are pretty much the same, and in World Tour the first 3 courses are very generic. It's grasslands, desert, and mountains or something like that, and and so this is something that Mario Golf has always kind of had, and though I do wish, especially with Speed Golf being more Mario-y, I do wish that they, changed it for this game to have more Mario-y. And do you think the last 3 are... Yeah.
I guess even for grasslands, like, why not just like throw Peach's castle in the middle of that?
Yeah.
Shoot a ball through Peach's window. But I think the courses do look nice.
I would have liked more. I mean, they do look nice, though, for sure.
I think it's okay to have some courses that are, like, standard, but... It definitely feels like even, like, the wackier ones in this are still kind of close to standard.
I guess it hurts more when there's so little, though. It's just like, this game really just needs more. I think it's a decent amount of content, but I get that they're going to give us free updates, and that's super nice. But it does remind me of Mario Tennis Aces, where Mario Tennis Aces was just... At launch, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of feeling the same way here, right? Where I'm just like, I wish that the base game had just shipped with a little bit more, because...
I do think it is very good that all of the courses in the game are 18 holes. That's very good. My understanding is that in previous games there's kind of a mix of 9-hole and 18-hole.
That's only the case. Maybe it's the case in the other handheld games. I'm not sure, but in World Tour, so it was 3 18-hole courses and then 6 9-hole courses.
Which the benefit of that is that those 6 9-hole courses are all different environments.
Right, and they went kind of more, because the 3 18-hole were pretty generic courses, and then the 9-hole ones were more. There was one based off Yoshi's Woolly World, which was really cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's cool. Yeah,
I think from that point, that brings us into Battle Golf nicely as the other mode where you can run around, and this is also a first for the series. Unless you wanted to say something before, like Clay.
Oh no, I think this is a good time.
Did everyone here get to try Battle Golf? I did not get to try this or Speed Golf, but I've enjoyed watching videos of Battle Golf.
I've played a good amount.
Battle Golf, I actually like this mode. I much prefer this to Speed Golf because this plays around with it in a way that's different enough, right? The idea with Battle Golf is there's 9 holes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Question mark? Yeah. And first to 3, it may be different depending on the number of players, but I know at least in 4-player, the first to 3 holes wins. And basically, so when someone gets a hole, no one else can get that hole anymore, right? And so you're kind of all racing at the same... So it is the same way as Speed Golf, where you're all playing at the same time, you have to run to the ball, blah, 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 right? It has all those elements, but it's in a more confined space, more room for fuckery. And yeah, like, you know, it's funny because, like, you know, you may go race to one hole and then, it turns out someone else is going for that same hole. They get to it first. You're screwed for a little bit, right? And you have to go readjust and find something else, right? There's a lot more. It feels like you're interacting with each other a lot more than Speed Golf, you know? And these games happen really quick too, and you feel tense the whole time, right? You're like, oh my god, like, and I think what works especially better than Speed Golf is you have a sense for who's doing better at any time, because every time someone gets a hole, it's announced to the whole thing, right? It's like, hey, so and so Poochy just got a hole, right? And so like you feel this, oh my god, like these people are only 1 away or 2 away or whatever, right? And so you're all kind of racing after these holes. And this feels like a... I don't know if I'm going to call it a party mode, but this feels like a kind of mode that I was more looking for in Speed Golf, to be honest.
It's definitely more contained. I appreciate that there's like, you know, there's like thwomps and like, you know, there's those the Bob-omb things from the Bowser course in here that you can launch at people. You know, coins and stuff scattered about. I know one of the arenas has like water and a lot of like weird slopes that you can like try to jump up. It's like very weird. But I also noticed playing Battle Golf a lot, and again, we were playing locally, so Battle Golf and Speed Golf locally are restricted to 2 players. Battle Golf kind of felt like it went the same way a lot of the time too. Like, we'd start out, we'd do our dash to get to the first hole in the center, and then we would kind of pick a hole from there. But a lot of the times, like, when you look, it shows you, like, all the holes that were, you know, that were gotten to at the end of a match. And we just kind of, not intentionally, but we kind of just, there was a lot of time that we kind of went to the same holes. And it's interesting because, like, I feel like, and I haven't looked in settings or anything like that, I feel like Battle Golf would benefit if you were able to play until all 9 holes were gotten.
Yeah.
And then whoever had the majority. Yeah, because like 3 is kind of, it's so fast.
Yeah.
And like that can be fine.
Oh, but... like you blink and the game is over.
I think that's just my biggest issue with it. I enjoy it, but it's just so short that you're kind of getting into it, then it's already over. It's like,
yeah. And also it does not help that there's only 2 arenas right now for Battle Golf. I think what is it, Technique, and I forget what they're called, but there's 2. And they have those events that happen, the rush events, and like even those are like, they're not interesting enough. Like, there's one that makes you invincible, which that kind of kills the interactivity for a little bit. And then there's the one that turns the greens into ice. That was probably the one that I thought was most interesting.
There's also
actually,
the one
like, really messes you up. But there's only a couple of these different things that happen.
There's also the one that rains bombs down on the field, and that one's so annoying.
Yeah, I'm fine with annoying. It's just I wish there were more, wish there were more things that could happen. With that.
I think another thing is just with them being so short, only one, maybe two at most happens per match, and just like,
Yeah. Yeah, and like half the time it felt like it was just the superstars. So I'm like, okay. Or like, we're not really doing anything to each other now. And it again suffers from the whole, like, everyone only really has one action, and certain characters, they can do their action may be better suited for attacking, and other characters' action just is not at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I appreciate that it's simple, but it feels too simple at times in terms of the interactivity between players. And also, I will say it because it makes me mad. When you get a hole in Battle Golf and they stand there posing for like 15 seconds before you can go shoot to another hole again. That kind of felt like it broke the pacing a little bit. But I do overall like it. I just want more, content, more options in that mode.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of where I'm at too. But I feel that way about the whole game, I guess, right? Where it's just like, I like what's there, I just want more, right? I want them to do more with it. I want them to get crazier with it. I want, whatever. And I'm sure that stuff will come.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what they're doing for.
It'll be interesting to see what the game looks like at the end.
I will say the core gameplay of the game is phenomenal.
Definitely.
I really enjoy how the game feels, and again, it's a blast with friends. I've only played multiplayer, but I've had a great time. I really have. I despite only getting tennis up until this point because I thought tennis just appealed to me more, I think I honestly like this game more than Mario Tennis. Which, if you asked me that a year ago, I'd be like, Mario Tennis? Crazy, right?
Huh.
Yeah, wow. Really, honestly, yeah. Like, I think I just like how this game plays more than Mario Tennis does. Yeah. It's left a really lasting, like, really good impression on me, honestly.
Has any of you played the single player yet?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Has anyone tried the adventure mode? I did not.
I've done only a little of it so far, and I've seen a little bit of it because we were kind of, like, helping a friend play through some of it at their house, but I haven't gotten anywhere near, like, through all of it.
I've beaten it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. What did you think of it?
There's a lot of good things about it and a lot of not so good things about it. And so, like, the adventure mode, it's structured. You're going around each area, talking to people, playing rounds of speed golf under different circumstances. And I think the game has, or the adventure mode specifically, has a lot of very good moments to it. In the second area, that's when you're playing what's called XC Golf, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about it. A lot of people complaining about it because it is a very interesting mode where you have to get so many holes in a set number of strokes, but then you have to, you end off at each where you putt the ball into the hole. And so you have to, if you have to get holes A, B, and C, first you get hole A, and then you have to get to hole B from the end of hole A. And so then you kind of have to map out where you're going to go between each hole, and there's a lot of strategy to it. And yeah, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. There's one specific frustrating hole to get to that you really have to plan around, and I think that's where a lot of people's frustration with it came from.
Yeah.
And I do think... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I do think, I was talking about it a bit earlier, but the game does not explain... It just kind of throws you into XC Golf and doesn't explain well enough some of the things you have to keep in mind while going through it. Like, you basically have to plan your routes between each hole. And so the route I chose ended up doing it. So you have to scale up a very high cliff to get to one of the holes. And so, I had to try it 3 or 4 times because I ended up wasting too many shots just trying to get up the cliff and failing. And in the end, I was looking at it I was shooting from the side of the cliff and then just put a really strong spin on the ball so that it kind of just turned onto the cliff as it was going alongside it.
Yeah.
And
oh wow, sounds hard.
It was hard, and it was the second area in the game. So I do think, they maybe should have moved it towards the end of the game so that you have more skills and you have more of an idea of what to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, we played that mission at my friend's house. That's what she was stuck on.
Yeah.
And so so one thing about that mode, so this mode is kind of more what I imagined speed golf would be like.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that in speed golf that like you would like when you got the hole, right, that you would then run to the next hole, but you do not. You just start at the next hole. Cross country, you absolutely, run from everywhere. And one thing that the game does that's extremely annoying in this mode is that whenever you approach your ball, it will try to auto-target you to the next hole or the closest hole. And in that mode, there's a lot of times that you do not want to be hitting towards a specific hole because you're trying to hit your ball into the tornado guys, or into the tornadoes that launch you up onto higher planes. So every time you run up, you run up to the ball and you're like, all right, cool, we're going to hit this thing like in front of the tornado so that I can then, the next shot I can hit it so that it goes into the tornado and, goes over the cliff or whatever. And the game will just like point you to like this hole that's like in a completely different direction. You have to like manually spin your camera around to hit from where you want to hit. I think it would have just been so much smoother if the game positioned you based on where you ran into the ball from.
Definitely.
It just kind of doesn't work the way you think it will. But I do think it's a really interesting, very interesting mode, and I dig it. It's just, I don't know.
Hopefully they add it to like multiplayer so it can have more longevity.
Yeah, they should definitely add it to other modes outside. It is a shame that it's only in the single. It's a shame it's only in the single player. There's actually a lot of stuff in the game that is relegated to just the single player. A lot of, just go a bit more into like adventure modes as a whole. It's weird. Like, they introduce a lot of odd mechanics and such that aren't used that much, and it does feel like, developing under COVID, they did have to cut a lot of stuff in the adventure mode specifically. So there's a point near the end of the game where you get a club that basically... I was talking about near the beginning how they went from the 3-press system to the 2-press system, and then you get this specific club that actually does use the 3-press system. So you have to do that 3rd press for accuracy.
Oh, weird.
And it's used for the boss fights and such, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I appreciated like the little like Hammer Bros challenges, I guess, where they were like, oh, this is how you use topspin, this is how you use... Those were actually like helpful to me, even if like some of them were like really, really like tough just for what were practice challenges.
Yeah, there's some in the sand area that I was not able to complete. So, yeah, overall, I think the adventure mode, it definitely has a lot of shortcomings, and do wish they got more time to fully flesh it out, especially near the end, where it's like, when you get to the final boss, you're like, oh, this is the end already? Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a nice final boss, but...
it seems... I will say the adventure mode, I haven't played it, but it does seem better than Mario Tennis's, at least, right? So there's that much going for it. Like, it feels like there's more humor to it. It feels like... there's just more to it in general, but it still feels like, I don't know. I think for a lot of us who played the GBA... So I didn't play the GBA Golf, but I played the GBA Tennis, and that had such a stellar single-player mode, right? And I feel like a lot of us are still chasing that high of the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance single-player Mario Sports games, you know? And they just haven't hit that, you know?
I think on that note, I think we should bring it to our closing thoughts. We're reaching the end of our audio recording program for the night. So overall, I think everyone's pretty happy with this game, right? But despite some of its shortcomings.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if a game is making me want more, clearly it's doing something right to make me want more, right? like it has to have a solid base for me to be
I wanted to play more. I just sadly did not have the time to after my few matches.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a lot I do like. I like the mechanics. I think the game looks good. I think it runs well. The menus are not a mess like Tennis Aces were at launch. There's a good variety of gameplay. I think it's a bit rough around the edges, which that's kind of usually the case with Mario Sports stuff. And I do think it does lack some content, but I do think that the post-launch stuff will help that. I'm curious to see where that goes. But overall, I am liking it so far, and I just need to spend some more time with it.
Yeah, I think overall, I greatly enjoyed World Tour, and this isn't giving me quite as high of the highs that World Tour gave me, but I still really enjoy it, and I do think, Mario Tennis Aces was a much better game after it got all its post-launch content, and I'm hoping that, Super Rush will similarly be able to be, a really amazing game, comparable to, if not better than World Tour by the time that gets all its DLC, and I think it can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm optimistic because, Tennis Aces had a great post-launch support, right? And so I think, I'm optimistic here. I think Mario Golf will hopefully deliver the same, and that should give us, again, with the base being so strong, I can't wait to see what's more. I mean, I'll definitely be there for whatever new content drops,
I'm excited to see what else they add. And on that note, we're going to bring this into our wrap-up, or our outro. This has been the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast, and I think we all like Mario Golf. We're ready for more golf. You can see more of us at nintendoera.wordpress.com for our articles and links to our podcast, and also on our YouTube page, which is the Nintendo Era Discord, right?
Yep.
And thank you again, Poochy, for being on this. Is there anything you would like to promote?
No. Thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah, thank you so much. And to everyone else, Mamma Mia, have a Nintendo day.
God.
All right, cut.